All right, football fans, it's time to put out the final mock draft of the 2022 NFL draft, right? It's Wednesday, 4/27. Draft is Thursday, 4/28. But, things could change. Time to put out this content. Time to give you this information. So, with that being said, let's jump right in with the first pick in the 2022 NFL draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Aiden Hutchinson. Safest pick to make here. A lot of talk about Trayvon Walker. He had a great pre-draft process. He has great film, but he's at the end of the day a boom and bust potential, especially for 4.3s. For 3.4s, he's a little bit of a better fit, but boom and bust guy Aiden Hutchinson is not. He could come out and play. Going to be a great player in the NFL. Aiden Hutchinson, great pick here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. At 2, we got the Lions, and they go Sauce Gardner. I talk about Thibodeau, maybe Trayvon Walker. Again, the Lions are on the 4.3. Walker's maybe not as good of a fit as Thibodeau. Definitely isn't. But I think the key thing here to look at is the drop off in talent from at the corner position between 2 and 32 and 34, which is their upcoming picks, and the drop off at edge rushers. And the drop off at corner is greater. So I think to go Sauce Gardner here, great piece for the back of their defense. Playmaking corner that has some safeties that they like. Really continue to bear out this tough, competitive football team out here in Detroit. They could go with a quarterback later if they want to. They have some receivers that they like, especially with the signing of DJ Chark now. So, good pick here for the Lions at 2, Sauce Gardner. That brings us to 3, the Texans. Now, we could see him go D-line. I don't think so. I think the biggest hole in their defense is the back end. Fill that hole with Kyle Hamilton, right? If you have a hole at the bottom of your bucket, you plug it. Plug holes anywhere in your bucket, but the bottom of the bucket, water is going to spill out really fast. So, Kyle Hamilton, great pick here for the Texans. Just a phenomenal safety. Not going to see another prospect at safety like this for another good few years. He's just a complete player. Everything you want. Great talent here for the Texans to help build out that roster that needs help almost everywhere. Brings us to the 4th pick, and that's the Jets, and they go Derek Stingley. Yes, they added DJ Reed. They fixed their safeties, but they need a number 1 corner. They have Michael Carter, maybe be a slot corner. Derek Stingley, true number 1. He knows how to carry or find the best leverage, knows when to turn around, and can find the ball in the air, make a play. So, 2019 film was his best film. 2020, 2021, not as good, but we know the talent's there. Robert Saleh, great defensive coach. If you can coach this man well, he will be a shutdown corner in the NFL. Derek Stingley, great pick here for the Jets. Maybe they go offensive line, wide receiver later on. They also have the 35, 38, and the 10. Although I expect them to go defense at 4 here, right, with Derek Stingley, and at 10. Maybe go wide receiver, some maybe offense, other spots in the second round. With that being said, moving right on to the Giants at 5, and they go Ike Ekwonu. Yes, they added some pieces to their offensive line in free agency, but Ike Ekwonu could play 4 out of the 5 spots. He's not going to play center, but he can have a fantastic career at either guard or tackle spot. With Andrew Thomas at left tackle, okay, let's see if he can continue to develop. But Ike can play anywhere and move in future years. So he's just a plug-and-play guy, automatic upgrade to your offensive line. He's going to fit somewhere. He's going to be phenomenal doing it. Ike Ekwonu to the Giants here at 5. At 6, we got the Panthers, and they can go offensive line. Obviously, biggest needs, offensive line and quarterback. I really thought long and hard about giving him a tackle. Evan Neal or Charles Cross, but I think Kenny Pickett's the right move here. Pro-ready quarterback could come in, do some nice things for you. You have a ton of talent throughout the rest of your entire roster. Offensive line shaky, yes, but the left tackle from last year only played in 9 games, and he's moved around offensive line throughout his career. He's played a couple different spots. Excuse me, but he's a good talent. I think his poor play was partially, and everyone's poor play was partially affected by the scheme. They did a lot of, at least in the games I watched, they did a lot of man responsibility blocking schemes, which is extremely hard to cover against stunts. So, for example, against the Cowboys, try blocking Randy Gregory on a stunt when you're a left tackle. Have to kick then into a B gap or even sometimes an A gap. A little bit, right, at the end of the day because of angles. Like, it's not easy to move like that. You have to block with your hands at the end of the day because you're starting going to kick out and you have to break inside. He's already broken inside on the stunt. So I hope that wasn't too technical for most people. But essentially, I think there's a way to maximize this offensive line via scheme and address it later, but get yourself a pro-ready quarterback. Matt Rule takes some pressure off of himself and his coaching staff. Make sure they're not in the hot seat and can continue to run this franchise, try and make it a dynasty. That brings us to 7, and the Giants are supposed to pick here, but the Chiefs trade up for 29 and 30. Other picks may be involved. They probably will, but I'm just focusing on the first round here. So that means just talking about the first round picks involved in the trade. Giants give up 7, get 29 and 30. Chiefs move up and take Garrett Wilson. They want to make sure that they have an explosive offense, the most explosive offense in the NFL. Obviously lost Tyreek Hill, but they were struggling a bit last year as well. If you actually dive into the film and just look at their production was sometimes even just limited to one half if it was existing at all. So Garrett Wilson, phenomenal wide receiver, arguably the best wide receiver in this draft class. Jameson Williams is in that conversation, but he's coming off the ACL injury. So Garrett Wilson, great catch radius, nice size, great wide receiver here to put beyond next to Juju and have MVS to stretch the field. Good pick here for the Chiefs. They like their defense. They could obviously add talent there as well, but they like where their defense is at. So move up. It's worth it for them. Giants move back. They need to add some. The more pieces they can add, the better. Right, that's where they're at. At 8, we got the Falcons, and this is another thinker here, much like the Panthers. They could go so many spots. They could go in so many spots. But I think they go Jameson Williams because it's absolutely cruel to ask any quarterback to play for you and not give him a wide receiver. Right? Kyle Pitts, good tight end. That's nice. He was a rookie last year. Nice film. But get yourself, even if it's just Marcus Mariota for this year, get yourself a wide receiver. Somebody to throw the football to. Cordero Patterson, he's nice. He's kind of that flex running back wide receiver. He's getting a little old. Get a real, true number one. Go out there on every play. Be a number one. Jameson Williams is that guy. He's going to be fine coming off the ACL. A little bit of a slight frame. A little bit of concern around that. But great player. Great wide receiver. Good speed. Good hands. All that jazz. So Jameson Williams here to the Falcons at 8. That brings us to the Seahawks at 9. And I'm just going to say it. I do have them trading back into the first round later because here they go Evan Neal. We could see him take a quarterback here and then just sit everywhere else, but I don't think that's the right move. No matter who your quarterback is, you need to protect him. Their offensive line needs a ton of work. Evan Neal, great tackle, can be someone, a staple of the offensive line for years to come. Go out and get him. You could trade up later with the picks you got for Russell Wilson, which is in fact what I have them doing, and get a quarterback if he does fall, which, again, he will. So Evan Neal here to the Seahawks at 9, just making sure that they have players that they can build around and can make sure that they have a somewhat functional offense. That brings us to the 10th pick, and we have the Jets, and they go Devin Lloyd, linebacker. This is just a phenomenal guy, can do pretty much everything at the linebacker spot, can even move from the inside linebacker spot to the outside, which is what we're going to see him do. Jets have a pretty complete front four. They have Quinnen Williams, Carl Lawson, and John Franklin Myers. Quincy Williams at linebacker, CJ Mosley in the middle, and they need another outside linebacker. Devin Lloyd can move to that spot, round out the front 7. They already picked Derek Stingley. They added DJ Reed. They added, they have some safeties that they like. So now all of a sudden you have a pretty complete defense. Maybe you need to add some depth. Sure, absolutely. Contract things in the future, but build out the best defense that you can now. Get some young guys on defense that 5-year contracts. That can get yourself a great linebacker, great corner, 5-year rookie contracts. Boom. Love it. Great pick here for the Jets at 10. That brings us to 11. Originally supposed to be the Commanders, but they trade out. Why did they trade out? Well, what are they going to pick? They could go quarterback. There's no one that really stands out like that. So they could go Drake London, absolutely. But I think they could trade back, get a good route runner in the second round. So I have them trade back here with the Saints. The Saints move up from 16 to get Charles Cross. This is they're going all in, right? They traded their next year's first round draft pick for an extra pick this year. they want to go all in this year, right? They're coming out of the back of Sean Payton and Drew Brees era. They have a complete defense. They have some pieces on offense, but guys are getting older. So this is kind of it for them. So go and get Charles Cross, the last of the three big tackles, big name tackles. And, go make sure you're able to compete. So move up a couple spots. The first two are already gone. Go get him at 11. Commanders move back to 16. And that's it for first round. Again, so I'm just going to talk about first round pick swaps in these trades. I did mock out the rest, but that's not really relevant because it's just a first round mock. At 12, we got the Vikings. And I have them stick here and go Kayvon Thibodeau, and a lot of people might be, hearing that name a lot higher in this draft. The fact is, Kayvon Thibodeau is a fantastic player. He could be a TJ Watt caliber player. People question his work ethic. I didn't get the sense that he really cleared that question up in when he met with teams, which is something I was looking for. And I think all the teams need to address their biggest need, right, in this draft. Kayvon Thibodeau is a fantastic edge player. If you can add TJ Watt to your team, you add him to your team. But with all these teams here, they had other spots to fill. A ton of value to add, and they're just frankly safer picks and better picks because of the difference in play from what they currently have to who they drafted. So Kayvon Thibodeau does fall here to the Vikings, but hey, they need an edge player. They're thrilled to get him at 12. Moving on to 13. Originally supposed to be the Texans here via the Deshaun Watson trade with the Browns. But I think the Eagles move up from 15 to take Nakobe Dean. A little nervous that the Ravens might take him at 14, right? They play generally a 3-4. They got Patrick Queen and Josh Bynes. Josh Bynes is okay, but they're not thrilled with that. So maybe the Eagles looking at this saying, hey, we don't want the Ravens to get our guy. Move up a couple spots, get Nakobe Dean. We need a linebacker. Nakobe Dean, super smart athlete, not the fastest guy on the field, right? His measurables, not the biggest guy either. Measurables aren't like off the charts, but just so smart and just a fantastic player. Absolutely a starter in the NFL. Phenom to be. Nakobe Dean, Eagles here at 13. 14, we have the Ravens picking, and they go Trayvon Walker. They really want to get younger along their defensive line. They have Calais Campbell, Michael Pierce, Derek Wolfe, all guys. They have Broderick Washington and Justin Matabuke, some young guys that they like, but for a 3-4, Trayvon Walker is ready to go in and play, right? Because you're kind of relying on scheme to generate some pass rush, and that's what Trayvon Walker has almost no development. But he's great against the run. Absolute, very raw, a ton that you can mold him into, right? There's a ton of clay there, you just have to mold it. So, Trayvon Walker, classic pick here for the Ravens. I think Mel Kiper even compared him to Terrell Suggs. So, trying to win a Super Bowl this year, add some help to their front seven. All right, 15 here, we got the Texans. They go Drake London. Give Davis Mills someone he could just throw the ball up to, and that guy's going to go catch it. That man's Drake London. Drake London, absolute fantastic at contested catches. Big man, not like fantastic route runner or anything, but hey, just throw it up to him. Davis Mills, year 2, gonna love it. Pair that with the speed of Brandon Cooks. Ton of talented running backs going late in this draft. You could really add so much value to your offense in this draft. Do that here, start that here with Drake London. Already took Kyle Hamilton, really coming along here. In this 2022 NFL draft. All right, that brings us to 16, where the Commanders now are after trading with the Saints. But this is where I have the Seahawks move up to take Malik Willis. Why? I think it really comes down to the Steelers. Steelers sitting at 20. They signed Mitchell Trubisky, I think it was $5 million a year, 2 years. But look at the model of how they ran their team the last few years. Mitchell Trubisky's not a great quarterback, but Ben wasn't either the last few years. They relied on a fantastic defense and a semi-functional, right, mediocre offense, which Mitchell Trubisky may be able to provide, especially leaning upon Najee Harris. The thing is, you cannot provide that without an offensive line. So they're kind of torn here. If the quarterback falls to them that they love, they're going to take him. But I don't think they necessarily trade up for that. I think they're content sitting and improving their offensive line, helping Najee out, relying on that defense like they've been doing. and hoping for, really expecting mediocre play from Mitchell Trubisky, maybe getting something spectacular there at the end of the day too, right? Who knows? He came from Chicago and then got to learn behind Josh Allen, so um, you know, it's a possibility. But I think so. I think that's the Steelers situation. With that being said, the Seahawks say, hey, uh, their guy might be Malik Willis, super raw, but man, this kid has a ceiling. Man, this kid could be the next Deshaun Watson, minus the massages. So, I think the Seahawks move here to 16 just because of who's willing to trade back. They use some of the picks they got from Russell Wilson, maybe a couple of second rounders, and a little more. And they get Malik Willis here at 16. Commanders moving back, getting some draft capital this year, some next year. Next year maybe they want to move up to take a quarterback. We'll see how the whole Carson Wentz thing plays out. Plus Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield. So we'll see how that whole saga plays out. I think Commanders is content building draft capital for now. Seahawks move up, take Malik Willis. All right, with that being said, we're up to 17, and that's the Chargers, and they go Bernard Raymond. Raymond's not my favorite tackle in this draft. Got some things to clean up his game against the run. Just gonna quickly pull up my notes here. Let's see what else he could clean up. Doesn't have great awareness. Can struggle against the outside lean. But some things that you like as well, a lot of things he does well. And just because someone struggles doesn't mean they can't do these things at all, right? So, aside from that, Bernard Raymond's a good player. I think moving to the right side, which is, hey, the Chargers need themselves a right tackle. Good pick here for the Chargers, solidifying the offensive line for Herbert to play behind. They have a complete team. You could even see them sign Cole Beasley or Jarvis Landry, right? So a slot receiver to add to it. The secondary maybe could use a piece too, but maybe we're looking at a Kyler Gordon going there on day 2, so or something else. So they're ready for a Super Bowl run this year, absolutely. Without Raymond a part of that at right tackle. That brings us to 18. Where the Eagles are sitting here and they go Treylon Burks, and this was a tough one. I was between Treylon Burks and George Pickens. Pickens is kind of just a phenom, big guy, understands leverages, good routes, good hands, all that stuff. But he missed most of last year with an ACL injury. He was healthy at the end of the year, so he's ready to go now. But George Pickens, coming off of that situation, whereas Treylon Burks is kind of like my favorite comparison. He's like a wide receiver, Kyle Pitts. Let's be honest, Kyle Pitts is pretty much a wide receiver too, but Treylon Burks, great wide receiver, versatile, can get the ball in his hands, he's going to make plays, good in space, not a phenom with routes or anything like that, but a good player, and I think they go with that to give Jalen Hurts no excuses not to succeed, right? Put him opposite Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert's in there, you got some running backs, you still got an O-line, you got some guys who can play in the slot. So complete your offense, right? You're adding Nakobe Dean to your defense. You have corners. You have an old, but you have a pretty decent defensive line as well. Some nice talent there. So, you made the playoffs last year. Let's see how far you can get. So that's what the Eagles do at 18. That brings us to 19. We're back with the Saints. And they go Chris Olave. This guy has good speed, good routes. Not fantastic routes, but good routes. And again, this is the year the Saints need to get it. So put him opposite Michael Thomas. Marquez Callaway came along a little bit last year. Still have Taysom Hill to be that all-around guy. You got Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Add Chris Olave to this. Give Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton no excuse not to go out, execute, be the veteran quarterbacks that they are, and lead a phenomenal offense. The defense is already complete. Go out and get that Super Bowl, because this is what the Saints went all in. Like, it needs to be now. So I think we see him take Chris Olave, good speed, good receiver all around. Good pick here for the Saints. That brings us to 20, and that's the Steelers, and they go Trevor Penning. Another guy I don't love. Yeah, he plays nasty. He looked great at the combine, but a lot of this just doesn't translate to his film. Not great on the unengaged move. He just misses some things. So I think it's the best tackle available, right? He's very good for sure. Knocking these guys, it's not like, oh, they're terrible. No, they're not in Evan Neal or Charles Cross or Ike McWine. granted. But they're a very good player. So Trevor Penning, good pick here for the Steelers, just sitting there being patient, trying to help Najee Harris the run game. And then just relying on that defense again. So I think that's a Steelers strategy. That's what we see them do here at 20. That brings us to 21, and the Patriots are salivating at George Karlaftis sitting here. But I think that's how it plays out. George Karlaftis is great power, great moves. Lot to like about him. Doesn't quite have the ceiling of like a Kayvon Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker do. That those players do. But George Karlaftis, good player for sure. Can help wreck games, absolutely. Patriots go here, build out from the trenches, continue to build out from the trenches. Obviously, wide receiver was a thought, as well as a lot of spots on defense, but their heavy run, they still have a couple of tight ends. They added Devonta Parker, so I think they could go wide receiver later. Ton of talent, ton of depth in the wide receiver position in this draft class. But Patriots here go George Karlaftis, just an unpassable talent for them with a need at the spot. That brings us to the Packers at 22. They go George Pickens. Good size, good understanding of routes, good hands. Put him outside Allen Lazard. Got Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb in the middle, Amari Rodgers. Some guys that maybe play in the slot. And go and win a Super Bowl, right? It's just an extremely talented team. You also pick at 28. So get George Pickens, great wide receiver. Again, he missed most of last year due to an ACL injury, but came back at the end of it. But great wide receiver. Go get him, Packers. Go and win a Super Bowl. Absolutely. That brings us to 23. That brings us to 23. The Cardinals, they go Tyler Linderbaum. They need a center, get a center. And that's it. It's just as simple as that, right? Always got to protect your quarterback. Centers like Tyler Linderbaum don't come along that often. Not absolutely a mauler, but just does everything you need your center to do well. Climbs well, blocks well, everything. Smart guys. So Tyler Linderbaum here to the Cards, fill a need. That brings us to the Cowboys at 24. They go Jordan Davis. I think they're still looking for a playmaker. They're looking for another playmaker on their D-line. They could go with a depth piece in O-line, but I don't know why. When they can get Jordan Davis there on D-line, put him in the middle, pair him with other playmakers, it's over. Like then Trayvon Diggs can jump routes because the quarterback has no time. So Cowboys go Jordan Davis. Are really trying to improve their defense. No excuse for them not to make it deep into the playoffs this coming year. Maybe could have gone further if they hadn't had the Zeke contract, but all right. Anyway, that brings us to 25. The Bills, they go Trent McDuffie. They need another corner. They're thrilled for McDuffie to be there for him. Just how the draft falls out. Played a ton of zone. They play a ton of zone. It works out. Put him opposite Tre'Davious White. You still got the safeties. You got complete linebackers. You got a good rotation on D-line. Move some pieces around an offensive line. David Singletary started to come out at the end of last year. Josh Allen, obviously. Gabriel Davis, Stephon Diggs, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah McKenzie, all these guys. Dawson Knox. Super Bowl team, another one. No excuse for them not to compete, not to win. And that brings us to 26. That's the Titans. And they go Kenyon Green, best proper guard in this draft. Some people are talking about Zion Johnson. Zion Johnson has a focus problem. He tries to scan the field while he's blocking. It's a big concern. Kenyon Green didn't show out like you would love to have him do at the combine in the pre-draft process. Even before then, he was kind of maybe like a top 20 pick, not a top 10 guy. Now it kind of falls to 26. Titans happy, trying to build up from the trenches, help Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, y'all know the rosters, but I'm just saying they need some help on the offensive line. Kenyon Green, best proper guard in this draft. That's their pick here at 26. That brings us to 27. That's the Buccaneers. They go Jermaine Johnson, good edge rusher. Nothing impeccable. Nothing impeccable. It doesn't really jump out like some of these other guys that went ahead of him. Right, that's why he's here at 27. But a good player here. can fit into the 3-4 quite nicely. They have linebackers that they like. Also, obviously, revamped their offense, added some pieces. So, good pick here for the Bucks at 27, chasing another Tom Brady ring. God damn. 28, we're back with the Packers. There you go, Zion Johnson. Yeah, he has some things you need to fix, but this is a depth piece for him that can maybe take over a starting spot in the future. They need depth on long offensive line, so Zion Johnson, a good pick for him. Added the wide receiver, add some depth on offensive line, where they had some injuries last year. Again, we're in the Super Bowl. At this point in the draft, everyone here is winning a Super Bowl, right? Except for the next team, the Giants. Remember, they traded back with the Chiefs for 29 and 30, so we have them here at 29. And they go Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle. He's not the playmaker Jordan Davis is, but he is a 3-down guy. Can fit into the 3-4 nicely. Just all-around good defensive tackle. Helps them improve that defense. They already, feel like they addressed their offensive line. They have receivers. They have a running back. They're giving Danny Dimes one more year. Improve the defense while you can. Great pick here, Devontae Wyatt, to do it with. Next up, 30. Back with the Giants. They go Boye Mafe. Now, this guy is very raw, but he's really rare in this draft at outside linebacker because he can do it all. He can play coverage. He can blitz. He can play against the run. Very raw guy. Not what you love to see, right? Not someone you're super excited about. Gonna take him in the top 15. Some people don't even have him in the first round. More of a round 2 guy. But Boye Mafe, very raw, very talented guy. Put him opposite Ojulari. 2 picks here to help out the front 7. They still got James Bradbury, Dory Jackson, and all that. So, good picks here for the Giants. Attach that, put that behind Ike McQuan. Great draft, A++ for the Giants. All right. 31. This is a tough one, right? Because the Bengals don't really need anything. They could get better in the secondary. And this is a spot where we might see a team trade in for a quarterback. But I was thinking about it. I don't think there's a quarterback left that a team would necessarily trade in for. There's Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Matt Corral. Corral I don't love at all. He hasn't run an NFL scheme, hasn't shown enough in anything beyond the scheme he ran to be like, okay, this guy has great, X, Y, and Z. Whatever that may have been. He doesn't have that on his film. He only ran the run options, pretty much just reading the slants, right? Reading the slants or handed off. Obviously did some other things, but that was the scheme there. So don't love Matt Corral. Desmond Ridder's inconsistent at quarterback. I love Desmond Ridder. I'm high on him. But as I watched more and more film, I just saw the lack of consistency, and you can't have that at the quarterback spot. So, we could see a team trade up for him, but I was thinking okay, so we got maybe the Falcons, maybe the Saints, but probably not. Again, this is their all or nothing year. Maybe the Commanders, but I think they're being patient on that. Maybe the Colts, right, with aging Matt Ryan. But again, they drafted some guys last year. There's 3 guys, right, not facing a lot of competition for quarterbacks right now, so maybe they're just a little patient, don't trade up to the 31. Essentially, we're still here with the Bengals. And they go Kair Elam. This guy's handsy, physical. You can over-rely on his help sometimes, but he generally knows where his help is. Great corner here, probably better than Eli Apple, at least maybe in terms of Twitter, if not on the field. At least maybe in terms of having his Twitter reflect his play on the field at least. So good pick here for the Bengals. Running it back. Trying to. 32, we got the Lions. I think they go Sam Howell. I have Sam Howell comped as Ryan Tannehill, right? But he could be better. He could be a consistent Ryan Tannehill. Tough runner, good in the PA boot system. Going to be a good quarterback. Put him here behind Jared Goff for a year. Have him learn, have him develop. You have a great O-line. You have a ton of pieces. Obviously continuing to add pieces in this draft. I think Sam Howell, good pick here for the future. Jared Goff, crazy contract, not worth it. Sam Howell could be worth a cheaper contract and be more efficient. Good pick here for the Lions. And that wraps up the final mock draft done by the football philosopher, moi, for 2022. I just started reflecting on that name. I like it. That's why I have it. Simple as that. So this is going to go on my YouTube, the Football Philosopher. That's a channel. It's also going to go on Spotify, the Football Philosopher podcast. I'll also post a graphic of this mock draft on Instagram, _football_philosopher. And that wraps it up. Tomorrow's the big day, baby. Let's go.